Hi, everyone. I am so excited today because I am speaking with author Karen Harper, and we are talking about her brand new book, came out February 26th, called The American Duchess. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Very glad to be here, Michelle.
I love this book so much. I love historical fiction about stories that I never heard of, and you did it. Because I never heard of this story, and it was so good. And I just read it yesterday, so I'm kind of still, I haven't read anything since, so I'm still kind of in this book.
Oh.
And, you know, it kind of stays with you, this story. And I love the time period. And so tell everybody, because I know from reading your book, I know that there's a very cool story on how you found her. So I want you to tell everybody.
Yes, I was so fortunate to find this heroine, Consuela Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt strikes a chord with Americans pretty much, but Consuela, who is this? Well, she's fabulous. I visited the palace. There's one non-royal palace in England. It's called Blenheim. It's out in the countryside. I visited it over 10 years ago, and my husband's a Winston Churchill crazy man, and we were looking for Churchill memorabilia, and we visited Churchill's grave. Little did I know, even though I had it in the picture book I took away from that day, that Consuelo, who was the 9th Duchess of Marlborough, it was a forced marriage. It was what they used to call cash for class, some people called it. A rich American family made a deal with a noble person in England whose probably ancestral home was falling apart or something. We'll give you money, we get a title because you're going to marry our daughter. And Consuela was not for this match at all. She was in love with someone else, but she had a very social climbing mother, and the wedding went through, and so she was what's sometimes called a dollar bride. There were several. Winston Churchill's own mother, Jenny Jerome, was another dollar bride who married for a title. So Consuelo did not love the man she married. Her starter home was only 450 rooms there at the palace.
Wow.
And the estate which surrounded it was beautiful, but was run very feudal in a medieval kind of way almost, with the poor people just doing what they were told. And she, as an American, she went there, this isn't right. I'm going to do something no matter what. And slowly she did change a lot of things. One of the things, of course, was expected of these dollar brides was to produce what they used to call an heir, H-E-I-R, an heir and a spare, have a son and a backup son to take the title. And she did that.
Yes, she did. Yes. And, you know, because she was American, I mean, that's, you know, and I know a little bit about the Vanderbilt family, little, tiny bit. But I love this time period of history. And
yes.
After the Civil War, before World War I don't know. There's something about, it's not written about a lot either, that little time period. You know?
Well, it's kind of Downton Abbey-ish at least. You know, Cora Crawley in Downton Abbey was actually a dollar bride, but she had a very happy marriage in that story. She's not real, of course, but she had a very happy marriage. Right. Most of them did not. The Americans tend to call that era the Gilded Age, and the Brits called it late Victorian, Edwardian, usually.
Mm-hmm. And it's, I was really thinking about, because I'm knee-deep in Downton Abbey right now because the movie came out.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking about them a little bit, even though they're a little bit more, you know, a little bit further ahead. But this time period, you know, during the Teddy Roosevelt in Long Island, like I went to go see his estate last summer, and I spent a lot of time on Long Island, and this story takes place a little bit, you know, the Vanderbilts have an estate in Long Island, which I'm going to actually see if that still does it exist today?
I believe it does. Now, the ones I'm familiar with that I visited were at Rhode Island. They're so-called summer cottages, which were big mansions also. Vanderbilt had several there, as did the Astors and other wealthy people.
Yeah, those Rhode Island. Oh, those are so beautiful. Yes,
yes, they're amazing.
You know, I love, you know, this part of the story in the beginning when when there's a lot that goes on in Long Island. And this book, everybody's looking as we're talking, and I love American Duchess because, of course, right now we kind of have one too, right?
We do.
In Meghan. And
I hope people don't ignorantly pick this up and Yeah, I hope people don't pick this up and think there's going to be Harry and Meghan in it, But yes, this we do have an American Duchess right now, that's for sure. You can tell by this old-fashioned hat she has on in her clothes that it's not the Meghan and Harry era. Yeah,
it's not, and you can tell by. I was just going to say you can tell by this woman, and the fact that the hat kind of covers her face too. Was that intentional?
If people look at my historical novels, almost all of them, especially recently, which are of this era, you don't see the face. And I actually was on a crusade for a while. I said to my editor, can't we, have a face? And she said, well, if we did, it would really, really have to look like that person, and then it tends to look like nonfiction.
Oh.
So this is more or less a trend. The next book I'm going to have out is the woman that Americans call the Queen Mum, during World War II. And I think we may actually get that famous balcony scene where she and the king are waving on VE Day. They might accidentally show her face. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of a trend. You don't see the faces. You'll notice that on even World War II books. The women are facing away, walking away.
Yes. Well, when does that book come out?
Well, I just handed it in, so that's a very good question. Next winter. Next winter, not this winter. Yeah, and the working title is The Most Dangerous Woman in Europe, which is what Hitler called her.
Oh,
because she really was the power behind the throne. Have you seen the movie The King's Speech?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, that's Bertie, who had problems speaking, and he was a little shy, and he really had a rock iron woman behind him. And we just think of her as a smiling grandmother. But during the war, she really stepped up.
Oh, I can't wait. All right. So I'm all distracted. I'm like, wow, I can't wait for that book already. I can't wait to read that one. So,
well, I have to try to keep them not to run together, too, in my research and what I'm thinking. So I sympathize, yeah.
Yeah, so you divide this book up into 5 sections, okay, of her life. And
yes.
She was born in 1877. You begin the book with her wedding in 1895, which
right.
When I went back, after I was done reading it, I went back to reread that chapter, and I loved it. Was like the prologue, and I loved that you started it there. I thought it was absolutely perfect.
Well, it has a grabber first line, too, which is if you can do that in a book. I haven't written that many books with that good a first line. The first line is, they were calling it the wedding of the century. I was calling it the worst day of my life. The book is first person, which is good.
Yes, and that was my next thing to tell you was that when I read that, I was like, oh, that is so good, Karen. I love it. It grabs you right into that chapter.
I hope, yeah.
Absolutely, and then that chapter just grabs you right into her story because you see how incredibly miserable she is. And, I saw that she had written autobiography. Did you read it?
I did. It's called The Glitter and the Gold, and it's a pretty honest autobiography. She leaves out, of course, things that are a little bit racy. But, yes, it's quite honest, and a lot of autobios are not very honest. And then I read 2 other books about her. One was about her mother and her.
Because that relationship. This book is all relationships to me because it's not just, it's her relationship that she, the guy that she's actually in love with. And then we have the mother-daughter relationship. And then we have her relationship with him. And then we have, I feel like it was a whole book of relationships, which I love because, the one with her mother was extraordinary. And,
And I was so glad when I read the background research on her that she did have a great love in her life. It came a little late that she was able to marry him and be with him, but he's kind of there all along. It's a true story that this Frenchman told his mother when he first met her, I've got to marry that woman. I love that woman. That love at first sight, we all go, oh, sure. Well, for him, it was.
Yeah, and I almost thought it was headed there. When I read that, I was like, oh, this is interesting. But then it's later on, and I was like, oh, that is really interesting, that's how it was through.
Later.
Yeah. I mean, what a life she led, though, right? I mean.
Yes, she did. She did. And, of course, she had the great wealth behind her, so it's not certainly rags to riches or anything like that. But she managed, even in this world that she was bred in and lived in, to really help many common people. She was a little bit on the fringes of the women's vote, suffrage. Her mother was more, hell on wheels with that. Her mother was just crazy about that. But, Consuela did step forward and do many things for many people, hospitals, help people in World War II, helped people on the estate there at Blenheim. So she was a pretty cool woman. She didn't have to do all that. She was very, very, very rich. Yeah.
Right. And it seemed to be like, and you hate to say that because, of course it's like the problem to have, right? But
yes.
It seemed like there were parts of it that she really didn't enjoy, being
yes.
and things revolving around money. She didn't enjoy all of it. She didn't enjoy thinking that, that she was bought, she didn't enjoy that part.
Yeah, and we don't think of that it's a blessing, but it's also a curse to be very, very rich, and that's how people look at you.
Mm-hmm. And
like the guy that wins the lottery. Happy days here? Well, maybe not.
Yes. Yeah, we think that money is how can you be unhappy and rich, right? Well,
right.
She spent a lot of her life unhappy and rich.
Yes. Yeah.
It's possible. But what was your favorite thing to learn about her when you were doing all the research?
That's a great question. I think just that she was such a real person that she managed to reach out to people. That old woman on the estate that she visited, who probably had dementia and was very senile. I don't know. I think she was sort of almost a grandmother or a mother figure to Consuelo, maybe. But that's a true story, She did sit there and read her the Bible. She did visit her when she was ill and cared about her. And the people on the estate did call her the good Duchess, So I think just her human kindness, which didn't have to be there at all, really, really did impress me. And that's when I wanted very much to do her story.
Mm. Yeah, I'm actually gonna also put up. People are looking at the cover, but I've decided I'm gonna put up some pictures of her that I found too. Just so
great!
That, as we're talking about.
If people want to Google her name, there's lots of stuff. Pinterest has got a lot of things, and and Blenheim also, Blenheim is worth Googling. It's the rooms in that place blow your mind. There's a gold room, there's a red room. It's like the palace. It's like Buck House. It's amazing.
Well, I'm going to London for the first time in September.
Oh,
and I cannot wait. Can't wait.
By the way, you can tour Buckingham Palace if the Queen isn't there, and she may well not be there in September.
Why is that?
She goes up to Scotland in September.
Oh,
and if she's not there, I believe you have to online get the tickets before you go. They kind of make sure you don't just walk up and say, I want to go in. But I did that, and that was fabulous. Just amazing to see Buckingham Palace and the backgrounds, and they have a fabulous gift shop, of course.
Of course. Well, you've written so many books, but the historical fiction are always like my heart, and the fact that you're coming out.
My favorite.
Is it your favorite too?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Are you doing?
I love doing the others, but yes, I love getting into these women's lives.
Oh my gosh, I know, and I love getting into lives too. I feel, I love when I read those books and I learn things not just about them, but everything that was going on around them. Because I'm a big, history buff, and so when you stick history in and all the other people, and it's just, it's
that's definitely the way to make it come alive. That definitely works. I usually do upper class or royal women. 2 books ago, I did a book called The Royal Nanny about a lower class woman who was, I would say, emotional mother to King George that we've been talking about, to the man who became Duke of Windsor when he gave up the throne for the woman he loved. And her story was so fabulous and mingled with the royals that book really, really worked for me too. So I'm looking for people who have a great story and that open up some historical era.
Yeah, well. Anyway, are you writing? So you're writing about a book a year? Is that what you're doing right now?
Approximately, I am, and I have just a wonderful publisher and editor right now. My editor, if I say so-and-so's name was, and she'll go, well, wasn't she related to the Sheffield family? I'm thinking, oh, how does this woman know this? So I'm really got a great supportive editor. So, the pattern right now is American Duchess is out right now. The Most Dangerous Woman in Europe will be out in a year. And then I'm just starting to do research on Clementine Churchill, whom the Brits pronounce Clementine, no less. I didn't know that. So I'm reading ahead, thinking ahead, planning ahead. About one book a year, you're right, yes.
Yeah, and I'm also a Winston Churchill freak. So when you said that about, your husband, I was like, I'm right there. I watch documentaries, I watch all the movies that I can on him, and I love her. So, okay, so you just keep writing really fast.
Thank you. I hope to. Real life intervenes sometimes.
I know.
But I hope to, yes.
Well, those sound very exciting, and it is such an honor to be able to speak to you about this. I had so much fun when I was reading your book. I can't wait
I'm so glad.
the next one. I will put all of Karen's links listed below. I'm going to put the IndieBound link so you can go visit your local bookstore, and I'm also going to put the Amazon if you just want it on your Kindle right away. So I hope we get to talk. I'll be an early reader for you. You know where to find me.
Excellent. I would love to talk to you again when the next book is out. I'm so glad you appreciate the historical novels. I love those dearly. It's a great way to learn and enjoy.
My heart. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Karen. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. You also. Bye.
Bye-bye.